What's up, Dave?
All right, good day, y'all. This is Charles with the Exodus Logistics Learning Center, America's #1 dispatcher and freight broker training. Today is Sunday, the 10th of August, 2025. Today I'm going to do a little Q&A, but I want to start. I was having a pre-recording conversation with Mr. Lapsley. What is it? Lapsley Freight Dispatching.
That's it.
Uh,
That's great dispatching.
and Mr. Lapsley got um, a carrier that has I believe, four assets, four flatbeds.
Yes, sir.
And Mr. Lashley is talking to the person as a business person, not just as a dispatcher, but as an overall logistician, right? Someone
Yes.
who not just does dispatching, but help them with other things to help them with the bottom line. So we were just having a conversation prior to me hitting record about how he's going to assist the carrier because Mr. Lashley mentioned that the carrier's prior dispatcher, I believe, quit, and
Quit.
these trucks are stuck in various areas. So, and as a dispatcher, well, how can you? So you never want to try to book a load the day of for your care. That's the worst thing you can do as a dispatcher. You want to stay ahead of the curve. So, and a lot of this stuff is common sense, but sometimes common sense is not so common. So, um, so Mr. Lashley, go ahead, continue what you were saying. Now, you got four truck. Are the four trucks in the same vicinity, or they're dispersed all over the country?
They're back for reset now.
And where's back at?
Meridian, Mississippi.
Okay, now do they all go? Do they go in different directions? Does he want to keep him going in different directions?
That was one of the things that a credit to your training that we had a discussion about. I asked him what regions does he want to run. So when he filled out the packet, we actually reviewed his packet just to make sure that these are the areas that he's still comfortable with. And so in that carrier profile, after we were solving this problem and he actually filled out the paperwork, we had a discussion on, okay, these are the areas that you've selected. Have there been any changes? What are your expectations and things like that? So our discussion was over his actual packet for where he want his equipment, his systems to run. And then, pretty much asking him what are his expectations.
And then
One
you
of the
go
yeah,
ahead. Go ahead.
one of the biggest things I would say is when you are talking with, let's just say everybody's going to end up getting a trucking company. So I'm just going to go ahead and speak that into existence. You're going to get business, and you're going to get one customer that might have multiple systems. One of the things you want to do is to make sure not only if they got a dry van, or let's say we'll just use the flatbed for example, you want to ask them, all right, what is the capabilities of their equipment? Do they have chains? Do they have binders? Do they have dunnage? Do they have 8-foot tarps? 8-foot tarps.
Good question that you had. Good point that you're making there because with each equipment type, there's different accessories that's necessary to secure the freight and make sure that the freight is well.
Yes,
Right.
sir. And this saves you as a dispatcher when you are booking loads. Because what you don't want to run into is negotiating with a broker, booking a load, and then the driver shows up and doesn't have the proper equipment to secure that load. Now you just made it bad for yourself, and you just made it bad for the person who's contracted your services, and that makes you look bad.
So
One rule of thumb is no, ask them what, if it's a flatbed, ask them what special equipment do you have? So when I start booking loads, I know exactly what to look at, what not to look at. So you're good to go.
so let's do this exercise real quick while we're on this point, and we'll do it over the three major equipment types. We'll do it over a dry. Can you see my whiteboard, guys?
Yes, sir.
Dry van, flatbed, and reefer. Okay. So, and we're dealing with accessories that we would need or that the carrier would need. So what for as far as a drive-in, what do you think some of the things that they would need to help secure freight? That's the point we're making. So when your carrier gets to a shipper location, what do you think that they would need? Some of the things that they would need. Well, for a drive-in, what do you think they would need? Anyone, Mr. Lapsley, anyone? Give me one item. So, and by the way, these drive-ins have inside the drive-ins, they're either horizontal or vertical, what's called E-tracks. So you're going to need straps that goes and connects to either the vertical or this is the carriers. They're going to need straps that either connects to the vertical or horizontal E-tracks.
Mm.
They're going to need what's called load bars. I don't know if you heard these before. Load bars that goes across the from one side of the wall to the other side of the wall to stretch. They're about 8 feet so long, and they expand and contract, and they connect to the E tracks on the walls to kind of secure the palletized freight, either single stack or double stack. Because with E tracks, they're different level E tracks on the matter of fact. Let me show you one in our back office here under Module 1, three major equipment types. Here is the inside of a drive-in, and I'll blow this up, right? Let's see. The inside of a drive-in, if you notice, there's these little things on the side, on the walls, on the inside of the drive-in. These are E-track connections. These are E-track. These are vertical because they're standing straight up. Horizontal will be obviously horizontal, but these are vertical. You can't quite see them, but you get what I'm saying right here, right? They're vertical E-tracks. You have horizontal E-tracks. If you don't know what something is, go to Google and hit images, and then you can either put E-tracks. You can put E-tracks for the trailer, right? And you can get an image of what that is. These are E-tracks, right? They're either horizontal or vertical. That goes inside of the uh, drive-in, or in some cases, reefer, right? But this is the inside of this large image here. This is the inside of a drive-in tray. This is a drive-in tray. It's not a reefer tray. You can tell by looking at it because the front of the trailer will have some components in the front, inside front, that hooks up to the TCU, the temperature control unit. But these are E-tracks. These are vertical E-tracks. You notice there. Okay, we have horizontal E-tracks. That's what we're talking about. So you would need straps that can connect from one side of that to the other side and then strap it in. You would also, well, not you, but your carrier, if you're going to make sure that your carrier has the right equipment, if you're going to help them indirectly as a dispatcher, then you want to make sure that you're maximizing your ability to help by reminding them or even suggesting to them. They may or may not know, but isn't it always great to at least remind them, right? They may have it, but it's always good to remind somebody, right? So another image, another piece of equipment on the drive-in, load bars, right? Load bars for the box truck or for the trailer, load bars. That's what these are. Load bars, right here. See that image? That's a load bar, and it slides from one side of the E-track rail to the other side. If you notice right here, it snaps in on the vertical E-track. You have horizontal load bars too. These are vertical ones for the vertical E-tracks. Same concept, right? So it straps in from one side to another. Aluminum E-track beam load bar for full-size trailers. 53-foot trailer. They're 53 by 102s. So these low bars go from 92 to 102 inches. In other words, they slide to adjust to the width of the trailer. So you just simply, or they just simply slide it in to secure that freight. Okay, so that's another um, accessory that they would need. Let's go back to the list that I had. That's another accessory that they would need. All right, let's go back to here. I'll do it correctly. The whiteboard right here. So we got the straps. Let's say I would say maybe 8, 10, 12 pairs, low bars, and what else? Got some people coming in here. 1 second. Some dry van carriers have in their trailers. Sometimes they'll have little blankets or cushions to kind of wedge in freight to kind of secure it as well. Um, Sometimes they'll have either a hand truck or what we call a dolly, right? And some of them will have a what's called a pallet jack. Okay. They may have a pallet jack handy, either a manual one or an electronic one. Is there anything else as far as accessories that the carrier may need to have in the dry van? Is there anything else you can think of? Anyone? Now, as a dispatcher, you say to yourself, well, shouldn't the carriers know this? Right? That's the question that I would ask. Well, if you're a carrier, you're someone who professionally hauls freight. You should know what you need for your truck. You'll be surprised. You will be surprised. And so I'm going to say for a reefer, I'm going to say same as dry van. These are some of the same things you would need for the reefer as you would for the dry van because it's the same style of trailer. The only difference is the refrigerated trailer to have a temperature control unit on the front of the trailer to help keep the freight either hot or cold, depending on what the commodity is and what the requirements of the temperature control of that commodity. So reefer and dry van are pretty much you got straps, low bars, blankets in some cases, hand truck and pallet jack. Okay. Now the flatbed is the issue. Let's get to the flatbed. So the flatbed, that's why I put it in the center so I can write a little bit more. And can everybody see me writing on this whiteboard?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So when you're doing your carrier profile, this is one of the things that you may want to ask them. Hey, what kind of accessories do you have to help keep your freight secure? Well, the most common one for flatbeds is what? Tarps, right? Flatbeds have tarps, right? They either have and there are three different sizes. There are 4-foot drops, 6-foot drops, and 8-foot drops. What's the difference? You ask, right? David says tie downs. The difference is the length of the tarp when it drops down after you cover the freight. How far down does the tarp drops over the side of the trailers? That's what determines the 4, 6, and 8-foot drops, and that helps you secure because sometimes those tarps they'll drop down so much when you strap it in, it'll be up under the trailer. That's fine as long as it covers the freight. That's the important part. Okay, so you got 4-foot, 8-foot. The most common one is what? Which one do you think, in your opinion, is the most common tarp that's out there that they're dropping or that they have?
From what I've been seeing, I would say 8 foot. That's from what I've been seeing.
Okay, let me give you a visual of what they are. Let's go back to the screen and go to our friend Google, right? So we'll go to uh tarp sizes for flatbeds right there. Okay. So these are the different tarp sizes for the flatbeds. And they're 4 foot, 6 foot, and 8 foot drops by they're 4 by or 6 by or 8 foot by so many feet long. So they're either um what is it? 10 feet, 5 feet long. It may be 5 by whatever, 4 foot by 10, 6 foot by tens, 8 foot by tens, whatever the by part is the length, okay? And Harbor Freight and I think it's National Equipment carries them pretty good. Here's one that's 24. So these are the different tarp sizes, how they drop down. And you can Google this. Now, I don't want to go in too much detail about that. This is something you can look up. The length of the drop side, the side of it, depends on the height of the commodity that you're loading on the trailer. So the higher your freight, the longer your drop has to be so it can cover it. Does that make sense? If your freight is taller, if you're hauling something that's tall, like for example, in these pictures down here, if you're hauling something tall, then it stands to reason you're going to need a longer width tarp type drop, right? If I said that right, right? Probably gonna need an 8 foot drop on each side, right? Well, here's a steel like 16 by 27 foot and then 4 foot drop tarps right here, 4 foot drops. So it hits the top of the commodity and it drops 4 feet down. You follow? Or it hits the top of the commodity and it drops 6 feet down, or it drops 8 feet down. So the size of your commodity or the height of your commodity or your carrier's commodity, what they're hauling on the trailer, determines the width and the length of the tarp, how much they need. So most carriers say, well, I don't know my size of my commodity until I get a rate confirmation or a load. So it's best to have the longest type of tarp anyway. So that's why the 8 foot drops are the most popular because they could cover everything. You see the reasoning behind that now? The
Yes,
eight
sir.
the 8 foot drops are the best types to have because why have a 4 and 6 foot drop, but you get a load that requires an 8 foot drop? Now your carrier got to waste their time going to Harbor Freight or Northern Equipment and getting some more tarps. If you would have had just the longest tarp types, he would have been okay. Some carriers have in their storage units under the trailers. I don't know if you notice on a flatbed trailer, under the trailers they have storage units. They'll have three types of tarps depending on the equipment. I'm sorry, the commodity. They'll have that. So these are things that indirectly you don't need to know, but it's good to have information as far as the dispatch is concerned. Because you say, hey man, I got a high cube type of freight for you. It's real high. You might have instead of a regular flatbed, you may need a step deck that drops down a little bit more, or a double drop because it's going to be high. You're going to have a height issue making clearance. But if you got a double drop or a step deck, then that sinks down a little lower, so you'll be able to handle that. But yet it still needs to be tarped. You see, so those are things that come with advanced dispatching as you learn over time, and your carrier will know. So, all right, so we got tarps, 4, 6, or 8 foot, and we just said 8 foot is the most popular. Um, Straps. I think David just said the tie downs, the straps, right? That's a popular accessory that you would want your carriers to have, right?
Chains and binders.
Chains and binders. The binders interlock with the size of the trailer to ratchet the chains to tighten it up. Chains and binders. Now, if we need to go back and forth and look at an image of, that's fine. Um, Pipe stakes. Pipe stakes. We got wooden 2x4s that we call dunnage. 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 Those are wooden blocks. They're 2x4s or 4x4s, 2x4s. Dunnage to kind of wedge in some of the freight because you may be hauling steel coils. You got to wedge it in so keep it from rolling,
Yep.
right? And then you may be hauling lumber. You need pipe stakes to put every 10 feet apart in the holes of the trailers, 10 feet increments or sometimes 5 feet increments. to keep the lumber from rolling off the side of the trailer, right? So you put the pipe stake in, you put the load the lumber in, you put the pipe stakes in first, then you load the lumbers in, and then you strap and secure the lumber steel. Okay, so these are just accessories to keep in mind as a dispatcher to make sure that you are efficient with your carrier in understanding and knowing their accessories for their equipment type. Do you think that's important? You think that's something that you might want to have at least have some knowledge of, right?
Yeah. Now, quick question.
Yeah,
'Cause my volume kept going in and out, so I wasn't catching every single thing from the beginning. But assuming that they have all of this already as the carrier, these are the things that they need. Not don't need to necessarily be reminded they should have it,
right.
only that it needs to be used depending on the load that they hauling.
And this is something that you would discuss with them when you first get you and that carrier get into that dispatcher carrier relationship. When you do the carrier profile, these are some of the things that you would cover prior to even booking that first load. Hey man, do you have all your necessary accessories for this specific equipment type? That should be covered right there at that onset.
So that's something to bring up immediately.
Definitely, you got. I would say, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. Yeah.
You got
Yeah.
a dry van carrier, and you're onboarding them with your dispatch service in your carrier profile. You may want to ask them, hey, what type of accessories do you have for this equipment type, this dry van? And then make yourself a list, make yourself a cheat sheet list for that we're going over now.
Right.
We're going over it now. So make yourself for your company. So when you do get a dry van or reefer carrier, or when you do get a flatbed carrier, you would know some, or if not all, of the necessary accessories that they would need for their equipment type, and you would ask those questions on your carrier profile. Update your carrier profile. You know, hey man, what do you have for your flatbed? Because we're going to be getting loads, types of loads that could possibly need one, if not all, of these types of accessories. So do you have tarps? Do you have drops? 4 or 6 foot. If you do, what types do you have? Do you have straps? Do you have chains and binders? Do you have pipe stakes? I said stacks. It's stakes. I'm sorry. Let me erase that. It's pipe stakes. Okay. That's a typo. All right. Pipe stakes. There we go. So yeah, do you have dunnage? And most carriers, prior to meeting you, they've been doing loads. So they should know what they have. Right? And they should have discovered what they needed again prior to meeting you on loads that they may have done that required those other types of accessories. So chances are you're going to rarely come across a carrier who don't know these things unless they're brand new, just got their authority, and you may need to educate them, right? So, but all in all, now I use this word loosely, they should know it, right? So, should is the operative word. But go ahead, Mr. Ellis. What were you going to say?
Well, no, I would just you just echoed my same sentiment. I said they should know these things. Obviously, if they've been doing it for even a few months. I mean, just depending on what kind of loads they haul, unless they hauling something very specific all the time. If they just got a dedicated lane that may not require most of this, or maybe just one of these things. That's the only reason I would even think that they wouldn't necessarily have all of this equipment. But I
Right,
mean, I would assume, going into just even being, qualified as a flatbed driver, a part of the course would be, as far as cover the accessories that they would need, if they're going to be doing, flatbed work.
right. They would know it, right? So let's go chains and binders for a flatbed. I just want to give you guys images of what they look like. So when you do come across them, you would know. So this is a chain binder. The binder is the hooks and the ratchet piece that goes to the chains when you go back and forth, and then you ratchet the chain tight. Chains and binders. Okay.
My favorite ones are the clickets. I call them clicket
Yeah, the
binders.
click is tight. Right. So
Yeah, that's my
you
favorite one.
so as you dispatch, you're gonna educate yourself as a dispatcher as if you're the truck driver, because you're gonna know a lot of things about the truck. You're gonna learn over time. Hey man, do you got enough chains and binders for this particular load? It's almost an oversized load. It might extend beyond your length of your trailer. Do you have enough chains and binders, or do you got to go to Harbor Freight or Northern Equipment to grab some? Right? These are commercial uh, heavy duty equipment type of stores, right? So chains and binders. Dunnage, right? Dunnage for the flatbed. Simply 2x4. Basically blocks of wood. Here go 4x4 dunnage for lumber. The dunnage is used to wedge in between. Let's say you got steel coils, you got things that need to be wedged in between so that it won't roll while it's being transported. That's dunnage. And here's a storage compartment under the flatbed right here that some carriers keep their dunnage. Look at that. They got it strapped in. They got several pieces there. 10 to 15 is more than enough. You figure you got a 48 or a 53-foot trailer, 10 to 15 pieces of 2x4 or 4x4 dunnage should be enough. And that looks to be about that right there. And they got it strapped in, you see. So most carriers, they have their stuff, together,
And you
right?
say that's those are 4 feet long, you said?
2x4s or 4x4s. Yeah. Yep.
And what's the length on them? Okay, so there's okay, four by
Yeah.
four.
4 feet. Yeah. Yep. 4 feet in
Okay.
length.
And is that standard or
So the 2x4s are standard. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right. The 4x4s are standard. The 2x4s are not as standard as the 4x4 beveled for coils dunnage. This one right here. You see,
right?
6 feet
So is
long.
there any particular reason why you would use a 2x4 as opposed to a 4x4?
the size of the commodity. You may have something that's
Right.
small, but still need to be wedged in and strapped and secured and still keep from rolling. Yeah.
Right.
So two
And
by
you could
fours, 4x4s, 6x4s, 8x4s. I've seen them all.
mhm,
So they're just used to it's just cut beveled lumber used to wedge in to keep freight from rolling.
right.
That's
But
all.
I'm just saying because based upon the fact that like if the 4x4 is standard, because it looked like the little compartment down there can whatever it is, it fits a certain length, nothing
Right.
longer
So,
than that. So if that's 4x4, where would you keep your if you needed, a
well,
four
like
by
under
six or
here,
whatever?
you have a compartment under here that has pipes. You see this little metal steel thing right there? You may stack them in there and then
Okay.
strap them in. And that looks to be
Okay.
about, you figure from that wheel to the center, this looks to be about 10 feet.
Okay.
So that's more than enough
Okay.
room. And then some of those compartments fold back up into the trailer. They just don't hang down open like that. Some of them, it depends on the style of the trailer. You got different trailer types,
Okay.
you know. So we talked about straps, tarps, pipe stakes. So let's go there. And again, the reason why we're talking about flatbeds a lot because their accessories are more, you need to know more about them. If you get a flatbed carrier, here's a good example of pipe stakes right there.
That right there.
That
Yep.
right there. These are pipe stakes that go every so many feet. They'll like for example, you're hauling lumber right here. He's hauling lumber. This person's hauling lumber, and they got the pipe stakes on both sides. So the same area this pipe stake is in on this side, it's on the same side of the other side of the trailer. On the other side. Because remember, trailers are what? 48 or 53 feet by 102 inches wide. So on the other side of that trailer, in the same hole orientation, is another pipe stake. And they're so many feet apart. This one looks like about 4 to 5 feet apart. One, two, and then it totals up to like 48 feet or 53 feet, depends on the length of the trailer. And they go up to so many feet, like 10 feet, 8 feet, depending on how much you're stacking of lumber in there. And even though you got pipe stakes in here, you're still strapping these in. You just don't put this in with pipe stakes because it'll just be rolling around and then it might just pop and break the steel or bend it, and then you're gonna kill somebody on the interstate. So you still got to strap it in with the pipe stake. The pipe stake is just an added measure of security. You see? So but these are some of the things that, as a dispatcher, you'll be you'll be a more of a value add to your carrier if you understand some of the accessories they need for their equipment type. If you're getting a carrier talking to them and showing them that you know your stuff will be a way to motivate them to work with you because they'll say, man, you know what I need. You know this industry. I didn't know that, or I didn't realize that. Oh yeah, you need this, sir, because this helps you if you're going to be hauling lumber or if you're going to be doing other things, you need these accessories to secure the freight so that you can get paid. The more secure your freight is, the better you are able to transport it, and the likelihood of you doing OTP and OTD increases. What is OTP and OTD? On time pickup, on time delivery. OTP, OTD. You can't do OTP and OTD if you don't have all the equipment necessary for that shipment, for that transit. Here's a perfect image of a pie steak. How it goes down into the hole to that point. See these little bevels that's sticking out? That's where it stops at. And then this is the rest of it sticks up in the air.
Now,
Rule of
what
thumb
about on the on the back
about
side of it? Sorry about that.
yeah, with the carriers that got flatbeds out of Meridian, Mississippi, the main commodity pushing out is lumber. That's the main commodity that they're pushing out of Mississippi with the company that I'm servicing now. So these pipe steaks, the rule of thumb is to have about six of them for each side, on top of, naturally the straps and things like that. So the rule of thumb is to have about six pipe stakes per side. That's at the front and the rear, those key points along that 48 foot vehicle.
And I'm glad you mentioned that. That's another important thing to begin to understand is for a specific equipment type in a specific region or zone of the country, what are some of the commodities that are prevalent that you think your carrier is going to be moving? So that'll help you understand how to dispatch better as well. You want to come into that level of understanding too. So, like Mr. Lashley said, Douglas said, flatbeds. Well, the Southeast and the panhandle areas of the country moves lumber and even steel. You got Nucor, you got all these different large steel companies, and they have different satellite offices all over the country. Steel, Nucor is huge. So, so now, Mr. Lapsley, you are working on getting some loads for your flatbed carriers.
Yes, sir.
See, what load boards are you using?
I'm using our signature 123 load board. I've also, now that he's officially contracted, we're contracted with him, I also have access to his truck stop load board. So I'm using those two on top of the direct freight services that we have in our portal. So I use those load boards too. So I use about three load boards just to take a look at the differences that's out there, which gives me different options to find a load that fits the route. Because what we're actually doing is some route planning. So from point A to point B, at least we got a plan of attack, and just looking at different load boards. So 123 is the main one that I really, really like, because it just gives you so much detail on top of the profit calculator that you can have as a dispatcher. Also, what I'm also finding in there is, all the points of contact. It's just really a good tool, even when I'm doing route planning for and trip building for these each one of these flatbed truck drivers.
Right.
It just makes it a little bit easier uh, to streamline the process for them to move. If I can get them at least, a load from point A to point B, so by the time we get midweek, while I'm starting to look for loads, bringing them back for reset, I'm also looking up loads for the following week. Because what I found also this week is around about Thursday-ish, brokers start putting out loads for Monday.
That's right. That's right.
So that is where I can start getting a jump on the coordination and bringing the trucks back for reset, because he wants his trucks back at the end of the week so he can reset them.
But can you imagine if you get into a good relationship with a broker, you can even be ahead of that strategy, them putting loads out Thursday. They'll just probably email you, say, hey man, but before I put these loads in the load board Thursday, do you have any trucks coming out of this area?
Right. And that goes back to your carrier profile that you taught us, because in that carrier profile where it says list brokers that you work with. So I've also called some of the brokers that they work with, just to see if I can get a load list from them each week before they put something on a load board. So yeah, so that carrier profile really does help with all of the back office stuff that we're doing.
Does your carrier for his trailers, does he have a weight limit or weight requirement or no?
Yeah, he maxes out, which I'm trying to talk him into not doing, because what he has 4 drivers under his authority. So he got 3 48-foot flatbeds and 1 53-foot step deck. So they're all running under his authority. And yeah, they all been pushing lumber and then just trying to find what they can find in the midst of everything going out. And I'm like, okay, what else have you hauled other than lumber? Has it been steel pipes? Has it been coils? What's the most frequent places you've been running? All of that stuff. So yeah, he's out of Meridian, Mississippi. Now, one of the things that he had a problem with that I had to help him with is people are chasing the freight, they're chasing the high paying rate. But here's the problem. They're not also looking at fuel consumption when they're going those long distances for the rate that they're chasing. So what we're trying to do is stay within, right?
What else are they not looking at? That's a great point, but there's something else there's something else that's more important than that they're not looking at.
They're not looking at the cent per mile. See, this week it was better. I'm going to tell you, Charles, last week for flatbeds, it was $1.80 something per mile for flatbeds. So when I was negotiating,
That's outbound from Meridian, outbound.
that was out and in across the Midwest and the Southeast. It was brutal last week for flatbed trucks. And so when I was negotiating with brokers, I'm like, dude, there is no way that $1.95 per mile for a flatbed truck, when the national spot rate, based off of what you taught us about those trend lines,
right,
based off the national spot rate, is $2.50 a mile. Well, the customer is saying, this is all they can do. No, the customer can do more than that, because you are undercutting my drivers who are operating under the national spot rate, and you guys are not. So no thanks. We're good.
Right.
So I was seeing a lot of that, and that's where those drivers were 4 sheets to the wind and stuck. So this week we're going to focus on staying within an 800-mile radius, and we're also going to stay within the minimum of the $2.50 per mile. So we're trying to stay within the spot rate, probably a little bit lower, probably no lower than $2.30 something per mile, depending on how the spot market is moving this week, and also based off of what is in their carrier profile as well. So we're trying to find that sweet spot to where he's not burning a lot of fuel, still making good money, and they're still able to get from point A to point B to pick up a load to go somewhere else and have a larger revenue coming in at the end of the week.
So my next question to you is, as a dispatcher, what are you trying to, for each truck, not just the carrier organization, but each of the trucks, what's your gross profit margin, or what's your gross rate you're trying to get for the week for that truck?
I'm trying to get them at least at $6,000.
Okay.
At least 6,000 minimum. So 6 times 4, that's what, 20, that's $24,000. And he chose the 8%. He chose the 8%. So if I could get those 4 trucks, 24,000.
So you said no more than 800 miles, right?
Around about that sweet spot of 800 miles, because I'm also looking at their HOS. They can only be on the road for so long.
So for someone who's listening, you just gave an acronym. What is HOS?
Hours of service.
Okay.
That's the allotted time that driver is authorized to drive by the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration. All of this is in your training too. So for anyone that's listening in the YouTube world, um, they have 14 hours. Out of those 14 hours, 3 of those are for loading, unloading, and maintenance. So they actually have 11 hours of drive time. Out of those 11 hours for drive time, they also have to take, I think, at least 2 30-minute breaks within that time. So if you're taking all that in consideration, you're looking at about 10 hours of drive time that they got. So if we try to keep them within an 800-mile radius, they're able to pick up a load and actually drop a load within the same, probably within by the end of the day, they've gotten to their next destination. So now it can help me with coordination on finding backhaul or another load pushing them out at a later time because they've gotten to their destination. They're just waiting to drop. And then they also have enough time to, rest, reset, pick up a next load and keep going. So that was the sweet spot that we're trying to find in pushing out so far. And if I got 4 trucks doing that, then that's good.
So let me circle back and ask a question so everybody can hear. Mr. Lapsley, Douglas, how long have you been in this program?
I've been in this program for what, 3 months?
3 months. And you just got a carrier with 4 trucks.
Yep. Luckily, I was cold calling like we were doing with those cold calling sessions with Sasha. Is that her name?
Chasa.
Chasa. And just doing that. And we were using e-carrier check, which also was in the training. And come to find out, it said owner operator, but he actually had 4 flatbed trucks, 4 drivers under his authority. So I ended up getting 1 and 4. You know what I'm saying? So it just ended up that way.
Right.
Because sometimes e-carrier check, it might take a little minute for information to update. That's cool. But I went and did the filters and found him, and boom, that's where he was.
Well, I just got a log. We have a login to e-carrier check. Well, I do, but
Mhm.
this is what he's referring to. E-carrier check. So Exodus Logistics LLC has a login. We have a lifetime login. We're free because we're one of the first partners with e-carrier check when they first launched their software. Matter of fact, I'm going to be on their YouTube channel later this month, having another discussion with them. So that's going to be interesting because I want to give them a shipper's perspective. Well, e-carrier check they've improved their user experience tremendously because you can look at weekly diesel rates, you can look at active authorities, who has active authorities, so you can concentrate on certain parts of the country where carriers have their active authorities. You see, they got other things in here too. So just different regional stats, and then you can you can find carriers, and you can drill down very specifically. So we'll get into this in more detail. I know yourself and maybe Chasa, they use it like as their almost like a TMS system or a database,
Yes,
put
sir.
notes and things like that. So, but yeah, but the hours of service, what you were referring to there, is in our back office. I believe it's under tools and resources. Uh, let's see, compliance.
I know you had the Title 49. Yeah, I just seen that.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, Title 49 is huge. You gotta, yeah, that's the whole transportation piece. So I've read that whole thing. So there's nothing no one can tell me about transportation. If it's not in Title 49 CFR 371.3, then I'm not trying to hear it because that's the FMCSA's code, CFR, Code of Federal Regulations.
That's the Bible.
That's the Bible.
Transportation Bible.
Title, exactly. That's Title 49, which is the transportation piece. There's different titles in the Code of Federal Regulations. The transportation one is Title 49. Here's hours of service and compliance right here. Boom. So if for those of you who are avid readers, the materials are back here. if you need me to explain and break it down to you, I have no problem with that. But it's there right here. Property carrying drivers. Rules of the United States. Mr. Douglas just said exactly what this says right here. You have no driving after 11 hours of driving. In other words, you have 14 hours of on-duty time. You got 24 hours in a day, 14 of which you can be on duty as a carrier. Within those 14 hours, 11 of which you can drive, either straight or mix it up, whatever, but it has to total 11, right? And then, after 30 minutes, you take a 30-minute break after the first 8 hours of being on duty. You got to stop and take a 30-minute break so you can kind of refresh yourself. And then you have two different clock cycles you set as a carrier. When you first do your ELD, you can either set a 60-hour 7-day cycle or a 70-hour 8-day cycle. Well, obviously, there's not 8 days in a week. It's just 8 consecutive days. Doesn't matter when you set it, then that's when you set it. Or not you, but your carrier, I should say, right? So after your 60 or 70-hour clock cycle has expired, you are required to take a 34-hour reset as a carrier. 34 hours is, what is 34 hours? That's a day, 24 plus 10 hours. That's where the 34 comes in. That's more than enough rest before your 60 or 70-hour clock cycle resets. That's what that means, right? And then in addition to other things too, but those are the things that you want to at least understand. You don't have to memorize this. It's there for you as a reference, so you don't have to memorize it. But your carrier needs to master it because if they get stopped at a DOT checkpoint or go in there and get weighed at the station, the DOT officer something may happen and it may red flag them and say, "Oh, let me see your log books. Well, let me check it. Let me get your login for your ELD." And they'll see that you're not doing it right or the carrier's not doing it right. Guess what they're going to do? They're going to shut you down or your carrier. I keep saying you, but the reason I say you because when you partner with your carrier, it's like you and them are partners anyway. So, but the carrier is going to get shut down. That truck will not be able to move at all, not 1 inch, right? So these are things that the carrier needs to be aware of.
Yes, sir. So that's why we try to keep that. I'm recommending for this coming week is staying within that sweet spot of like 800 miles because of the drive time, and they're still able to get from point A to point B. So if they push for, let's say, 8 straight hours, they're almost halfway there. Now they can go ahead and take their rest break and then finish the rest of the trip. So
that's smart from a dispatcher's perspective. So you calculated what's the mile limit that they cannot exceed, and they'll still be within their ELD regulated hours of service. And
Yep.
you decided that was for this driver in this company, that's within 800 miles or less.
Right.
So
So if I can get these 4 flatbed trucks at least 6,000 each this week, and it's at 8%. So that's about $24,000 times 8%. That's about 1,900. If I can get each one of them to $6,000 each.
that's 1920. 1920. That's 480 per truck times 4 trucks is 1920. 480 plus 480 is 960. 960 times 2 is 1920.
Yeah.
So now,
Nice little Amazon money.
yeah, and that's gross for you, the dispatcher. So now you got to focus on getting them either under the same broker running the same multiple lanes because brokers have more than one lane. But if you get them under one lane with multiple shipments in that same lane, and you got all flatbeds running that lane, that's probably the easiest scenario right there.
And that's what he said too, with Reset, that's what he would like to do. And it was another thing that I totally agree with, that if I can push them out in a convoy going the same way, even though they're going to different places, but they're all going in the same direction.
Right. So now what you just said another term that some people may not understand. What is a convoy?
Convoy is just, think of a convoy like going to a funeral. You know, when the family members bury, everybody get in the car and they all go out to the same grave site, one car behind another. That's a convoy.
A convoy. So you got 4 flatbed trucks moving 4 shipments, but it's in the same lane, it's for the same customer and it's under the same broker. That's a freight convoy, in other words.
Yep.
So that's ideal. You're not chasing different brokers. You're under one broker. He just got 4 same loads, and you got 4 capacity equipment types to haul those loads.
Yep. You're just sending them out in a group in the same directed region.
That's
Yep.
that's ideal, right? It's easy to manage because you're dealing with one broker and you got one carrier. It just so happens that one carrier has 4 assets or 4 trucks and trailers. That's easy to manage. That's smart, right? So, but
So that's the short term. The short term goal is to get his transportation operation moving fluent. Midterm goal is to create that $6,000 revenue for each one of them, if not more, within within an 800-mile radius for his reset to make sure his reset is on. The long-term goal is just to maximize the short term and the long term, and then probably we could push out a little bit further as the rates continue to improve a little bit.
okay, so let me jump over to another. So of Six Sigma, what is that? Yellow or green belt?
I'm a black belt.
You're black belt Six Sigma. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, Lean Six Sigma. It's pretty much, if you think of it like this, is lean pretty much is, cutting. What can you lean out? That's all that Lean Six Sigma is. The Six Sigma is the process improvement. So you're reducing costs, you're improving quality. Then the lean. So basically, you're removing waste and reducing variation. Pretty much.
There you
That's
go.
all you do.
Yep. Now you're doing it in
Everybody in their house
transportation.
do Lean Six Sigma all the time. You do it all the time. You do it when you managing your checkbook. You're doing it when you're paying your bills. You do it. You do it for so many different things. You just didn't know that what it's called. Managing your household. That's Lean Six Sigma. You're removing waste and you're reducing variation to make your house run better. You even do it in your relationships. It's the exact same thing,
Right.
except in the logistics world.
Right. Logistics and transportation. You're just applying those concepts in a different arena.
Yep. Yes,
There you
sir.
go. Okay. So now you mentioned 800 miles. So I'm gonna put in the order of trip. Okay, so we said 800 miles. So I put it in order from smallest to largest. I could put it in order of rate, trip. I could do it in rate and just scroll down to about the 800
Yeah, we can
range.
scroll down.
Yeah. So like we got 2 here. You might go a little bit higher. I don't know, but 893. I mean, if you give or take 100 miles, maybe give or take 50 miles, but
Yeah, we can give a take.
so you got some loads here.
Like look at that one from like, oh yeah, oh no, yeah, like that one. Like click on that. And then one of the things I pay attention to, if you just scroll down just a little bit, keep going. You see that drive time right there?
Yep.
That's one of the things that I look at because we know what the HOS hours, so that's going to tell me it's going to take him a day, a day and probably a day and a half cutting into his HOS hours for that day, which is 11 hours of drive time, and then 5 hours of that next day of his 11 hours of drive time. So you're looking at probably like a day and a half of his drive time. So now when I'm booking a load, so it went from the 11th to the 12th. So now I need to start looking at loads for the 13th. So
Right.
he probably at the end of this trip, contingent upon first come, first term service, or if it's by appointment only, he could pick up that load and stage himself and get some rest so he could push out.
Right. And then also too, backhauls. You want to try to see if you can find it. It's going to an area that you can get freight out of anyway. It's going to Ohio, the Midwest. It's
Yeah.
going to the Midwest region. So you shouldn't have a problem with a flatbed coming out of there, but you can check because 123 Load Board has a feature, of course. That's
Mm-hmm.
backhauls right here.
Yep.
So you just drop down here. And if you were to decide for your carrier to take this particular load right here specifically that we're talking about, your backhaul options are 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. But only 3 and 5 have loads. So from Pataskala, which is where you're delivering to on this particular load, back to Lumberton, Mississippi, there are no backhauls. So from where you picked up and where you're delivering to, going back to where you pick up, there's 0 loads. You guys see that, right? And then Pataskala, Ohio, which is where you dropped off at, back to the state of Mississippi, there's 0 loads. But Pataskala, Ohio, where you dropped off at, going anywhere, there are 58 loads. You would just have to look and see what is your best option there of the 58. The beauty of this one is you're in Pataskala, so there's not a lot of deadhead. The next option is the state of Ohio, going anywhere to 71 loads. That's a good number, but you got to remember where in Ohio from Pataskala, how much deadhead you got to drive from Pataskala to the next city in Ohio to get a load going anywhere. So the better option of these two, in my opinion, is the Pataskala, because you're literally in the same city you just dropped off at. That's fuel efficient because you're not burning as much fuel. You don't know how far you got to drive from Pataskala to that next Ohio pickup to grab a load going. You guys understand what I'm saying there? You understand? You get that, right?
Yep.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, just using common sense like logic, right? So if you look at these loads to see what they are, Pataskala going anywhere. Now you just do the same strategy again, rinse and repeat. What I do is I put them in order of rate, see which one's the highest rate, and then you look at your miles again.
Look at that.
So the first load was like 2,100, right? So here's another load. Now remember these columns here, the rate is what the broker is paying to the truck. The rate check column is what the average spot market pays for that lane, that run. So if you look at this first one, PLS Logistics Brokerage is paying $500 less than what the market is paying. So I wouldn't take that load.
Nope.
I'm not making no money.
And look at the distance too. No
And
way.
look at this. Yeah, I'm not going to Houston. I'm not going from Ohio to Houston. I want to stay in the market that I can. I want to stay in a market where my likelihood of getting my next load and my next load and my next load increases. So stay in the Midwest, stay in the Southeast. I wouldn't go to the Northeast unless it pays real well, and I'm guaranteed. I'm using the word guaranteed that I have something coming out of there, because if you get up to the Northeast, it's going to be hell getting out of there. So you definitely want to have the stars have to align for me to send my carrier from a high paying Midwestern area to the Northeast, and I don't have nothing coming out of it. That's a waste of time and fuel. Right.
And then on top of that, we found the load from the 11th to the 12th. Now we're picking up another load on the 13th. Now we're getting towards the sweet spot of the week.
Correct.
Which is Wednesday. And let's say if who you're servicing for wants those vehicles back for reset. So now you have to start looking for something to come back. These rates are great, but it's taking you further away from getting back for your reset.
So that's another variable as a dispatcher you have to consider. Your carrier or your guy you're dispatching for may have that as a requirement. Hey, I want to run, but I need my trucks back for them to be PM'd and checked and everything like that, right? So are you able to do that? If you cannot, please be honest with them and let them know. Don't say you can do something and you cannot do it. That's the worst thing you can. Don't put yourself in that situation. If you can't do something, just tell the person. They'll respect you more if you tell them you can't do something than to tell them you can and not perform.
Right.
Right? So.
And starting out with who hires your service, not hiring you, but hiring the contracting your service. I check in with them at least 3 times a day. And the stuff that I'm doing, emails or whatever, I'm also CCing them on it so they can see what I'm doing, and we can have a conversation at least 3 times throughout that day so we can get used to how each other thinks, get used to how each other moves and how we operate. And then as we spend more time together, there's less of a conversation throughout the day because they already know what I'm doing, I already know what they expect, and everything just flows the way it flows. So there's nothing wrong with multiple check-ins with the people you're contracting with to make sure that everything runs smooth and run the same.
That's what you're supposed to do too, by the way. That's called transparency. That's called transparency, Donna. That's called transparency. That goes a long way in the eyes of your carrier because they want to know what's going on. You just got them under a load, but they want to know what's going on behind the scenes. And because they want that reassurance, right? That you are doing what you're supposed to be doing, and there won't be any surprises coming downstream later on. So yeah, to CC them to either regular CC or blind CC, probably regular CC. There's no point in blind CC in them. They want to see it. So, but yeah, transparency. So you just find other loads. Now it calculates, it adds up to you want to add it up to your gross six. So 3 loads a week, each load averaging about 2,000 to 2,500. Well, that's 6,000 to 7,500 a week gross for the carrier. So if you can do that and still meet some of the other carriers' requirements, that's great. That's great. Now, when I was dispatching about, now it's been like 10 years ago now, like, or during COVID sometimes too, we were bringing in carriers, we were averaging between 12 and 14,000 a week. And I'm charging 10%. So that's 1,200 and 1,400 a week gross to the dispatching service, right? Now, can you imagine if rates get back up to the point where they were pre-COVID?
Oh man, I'm gonna eat.
Yeah. But this may sound bizarre right now, what I'm about to say next. It's kind of okay, or what I don't say great, but it's kind of okay that they're not because you guys are learning how to dispatch for trucks when the rates are terrible. So when the rates go back up, you're going to be masters. You see what I'm saying? If you can do it during the difficult times, the easy times, you're going to flourish. So why not just concentrate on certain things that you need to do during these difficult times for your carrier as far as dispatching, the relationships with the brokers, sending them to areas where they need to go in, getting them out of there with backhauls, keeping them running consistently, understanding their equipment type and where that equipment type profits most as it relates to the region of the country. Learn those points, and then once the rates turn around, these tariffs lift and things like that, then it's going to be like second nature. You'll probably automate your processes at that point. You'll probably automate it. But it's during the difficult times, as far as the rates are concerned, it's during the difficult times that you master your craft, right? You master your craft. So when the difficult times cease, it's good. So, any questions for Douglas? Because Douglas just came into the program about 2 months ago, and he got a carrier that has four. Now, are these four owner operators leased under his carrier authority?
You're under his authority.
Okay, so they're owner operators. They're just running under his. They're not company drivers. They are owner operators. They're just running under his authority. Okay.
Yep.
Is there a TMS system that you are using? Stacy Newby just asked that for you, Mr. Lapsley. I don't think so. Just for four
Not
carriers?
yet. No, not yet. Not yet.
Yeah, I would think right now managing four carriers would be as simple as this. Let me give you an example of what I'm saying. I'm gonna share my screen. You could open up a simple Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah.
See my
I
screen?
got an Excel spreadsheet. Yeah.
And you can create columns like carrier, name, whatever, right? And you can create functions and formulas in here and manage them, pivot tables. You would have to understand all that stuff. If I was you, I recommend getting a book. I have a book in front of me. Well, it's on my desk. All in one, Excel 2019. Let me show you what it looks like.
Let's see.
Turn my lights on. I got Excel.
I got one I can probably throw Mr. Charles in the chat. Some dispatch tools.
Yep. So we got like I'm doing data analytics too at the same time. So
Oh, okay.
Excel
Okay.
2019. This is all in one. This is eight books in one. Excel 2019. We got SQL. We got Power BI, Tableau, and R as a programming language. But right now I'm mastering SQL right now and Excel spreadsheets. So with that, you can simply learn how to manipulate. So when a column and a row intersect, that's called a cell, right? In a spreadsheet. So right here, cell B2 is the union or the connection between column B and row 2, right? Excel. That's what Excel stands for. This is a cell. Excellent cell. That's what Excel stands for. That's where the name comes from. Excel, excellent cells. Excel. I don't know if you guys know that. But yeah, here's C7. So, and then the data in the cells can be manipulated in different ways, either functions, formulas. You can point to other areas. You can do sums. You can do all types of aggregate things like count, sum, average, multiplications, things like that. So you can create a spreadsheet, and Mr. Lashley has 4 carriers under that. I'm sorry, 4 owner operators under one carrier. He can create a row for carrier 1, a row for, I'm gonna skip a line, a row for carrier 2, a row for carrier 3, and a row for carrier 4. You can call the column here, you can call it carriers. You can create tables, formulas, functions. I have a profit simulator spreadsheet that's already designed with the someone gave that to me, and I need to send that to you guys. I thought I put it in the back office. I think it is in the back office, to be honest with you. I just need to go back there. But yeah. So to answer Stacy's question, right now, I don't think a spreadsheet for, even if you had 3 to 5 carriers, not a spreadsheet, but I don't think a TMS system will be, as far as budget is concerned, you're just creating an extra expense. You can do everything pretty much in a spreadsheet. Now, when you get to a point where you got like a call center dispatching service, you got other sub dispatchers managing these other trucks, then you need some kind of database, CRM, CMS type of system to manage that. And that's when load manager, Ascend, some type of TMS system, Aljex, Rocket, Rose Rocket, which is free, comes in to help manage that because you need some data, a database to manage that information and manipulate that data. So hopefully that answers your question there, Stacy.
If I can share my screen real quick, Mr. Charles, there is something I'm working on. I haven't finished it, but once I'm done working on it, I most definitely will. I can share it with the dispatch team.
Go
I
ahead.
have I have no problem doing that. Let's see. Go.
There we go.
So I'm playing with something like this, like what she was talking about. These are just some old examples, but yeah, something like this is what I'm playing with. And then once I'm done with it, like I have a profit tracker, load tracker, carrier info, driver info, just my own little stuff.
So you designed this. Is this Google Sheets or this Excel?
I got this from a friend of mine who was doing it a few years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and he sent it to me. So now I'm just fixing it up to where it works for me.
Got it.
But yeah, so once I'm finished playing with it, I most definitely will send it out to the dispatch team. But this is a good way to keep up, like with those trucks, like TMS and things like that. And it's got all the little tabs in it, all that cool stuff. On time delivery, running late, broken down, unavailable, in accident,
Right.
all of that. So
And it looks similar to like e-carrier check, what they're doing.
yeah,
But yeah, so if you're going to design something like that, you would want to, first of all, you want to list what all your tasks are going to be as it relates to your carrier, from getting the shipment, from getting them onboarded with a broker. Well, before that, from actually getting them, right? What are all the tasks available or needed with getting the carrier? That can go on the spreadsheet. Once you get the carrier, getting a load from the broker. What is all involved in that as far as onboarding, all the paperwork, all the documentation? Get those tasks. And then the load movement process. Once they pick up the shipment and they got a BOL in their possession, transporting freight to the consignee for delivery, and that BOL becomes a POD. What's the task involved in that? And then you take all of those things and you put that in a spreadsheet format. And then you leverage that and manage that throughout the life cycle of the movement of that freight. That's probably an efficient way. Once you do it that way, and dry van, flatbeds, and reefers, those are probably the most common equipment types. Now you're creating an automated system, almost like your own load board, if you will, but it's not loads. You're just managing more like a database, if you will.
Right. Yes, sir.
So yeah. Did we answer that question, Stacy? Let me put something in the chat here. Let me share my screen again. She said yes.
There's one thing too. This is just something I keep on the side. Is you can go on Amazon and it is this thing too. This helps as well. Not like I'm reading it like it's a book or anything, but it's just a good handy tool to have when we're talking about equipment types and stuff. It's
Yeah.
just something that I had on the side of my desk that, I pretty much brushed off. I don't know if you can see it now. There we go. Cargo securement. You can get it on Amazon for like $8.
Okay.
Handbook for drivers. Cargo securement handbook for drivers is what it's called. So
Okay.
it's just something, just tools.
Exactly. Tools in the toolkit.
That's it.
Stacy asked, can you tell me about the load board subscription? How many load boards do you have access to? Four. And asked about the cold calling schedule. So Chaucer has not come out with the schedule for August on the website. What's on the website now is the schedule for um, July, right? Ending July. So she needs to come out with um, the schedule for August. I'll get with her. Douglas,
She
can you
did,
put that
she
book?
did tell us, Charles, she did tell us to start doing it on our own together as a team.
Okay.
And brother Ellis got, some of the team members together. We swapped emails and information, and we're actually going to be doing one around 1 o'clock today.
Okay.
So if you want to go and you're not, and you haven't got just toss your email in the chat, and I'll send the team. Basically, it's nothing more than a cold calling study hall. So we just playing around together outside of class, doing cold calls.
Can you
And
put that book? Can you put that book you just held up in your screen? Can you put it in the chat?
yeah,
Someone was asking about the name of the book.
yeah, no problem. I will most definitely do
And
that.
I'm assuming it has an ISBN number on the back, right?
Yes, it does. Hopefully, let me see if I can about that. Uh,
Okay.
there, and then it's called that.
Okay. Are you able to type that in the chat box?
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you. So on my screen, I got Chasa's schedule. Now I'm assuming she'll send me something for August. Um, but yeah. Any other questions? I think S newbie Stacy, I think you just enrolled. Are you? I think you're in the Hampton Roads area, I believe, right? You're in 757. So who's in the 757 that just joined up? I know. Oh, Shiante's here. Hey, Shiante. Someone just signed up recently, and I think it's a Stacy name. I don't know if it's Stacy Sanchez or Stacy Newby, but someone just enrolled that's from the 757. So I'll probably be reaching out to that person once I go through the spreadsheet that my wife has with the names and the numbers. So okay. So we're good on the loads. So Mr. Douglas, you got an assignment then to work on for your carriers.
Uh,
You got an assignment for, oh, that's what I was going to go to. Um, um, Direct Freight Services has what's called a hot map or load map that shows you the hot markets.
Okay.
And when you log into that, if I remember I had my same login information. What is my login for my? Let me look at it real quick. My logins for my load boards. There we go. Load board logins and direct freights. What was I looking at? Direct freight services. Okay, info and 6408. Okay, got it. Let me share that again. Oh, I just signed up. What is 757 is the area code of where I'm at, the Virginia area. That's what I was asking. Someone just signed up with a 757 area code. I thought they did, unless I was looking at it incorrectly. All right, so we're in. And in direct freight services. So they changed the user. I haven't looked at this in a minute. They've changed the user experience, but they have a freight rate tool, profit calculator, mileage, things like that, quick pay. But as far as the here we go, loads map. So we hit the loads map, and let's see what they have going on over here. So right, like a heat map, red, green, things like that, different color coordinations. Have you seen this yet, Mr. Lapsley? Have you looked at this?
Yes, sir. I touched on it, but I didn't dig into it, but I did touch on it.
Okay. So with that, and this is real time freight load map for different, you say all, you can look up specific flats, vans, reefers, power only, step decks, cargo van, box trucks, cha-cha. So we got flats. So let's do flat. Let's look at the heat map for the flatbeds and see what where is the freight concentrated for your flatbed, right? So, and you got the legend here, 0 to 100% green. So the southeast and the panhandle areas, 50%, 67. So the darker the colors, right? The darker green, you know, the more prevalent loads are. And then you can look at the inbound and outbound rates, the inbound and outbound loads, trucks, and
Looks
uh
like Arkansas would be the good one.
yeah, so if you hover your mouse, well, Alabama, Arkansas, yeah, Arkansas, Alabama's 82%, heat map, 82%. So there's more green than red. There are there are 188 inbound loads coming into Alabama, and then there are 852 outbound loads. So if you want to know what they are and we remember we're specifically on a flatbed, it updates and it's going to update in 3 minutes 52 and it counts down. Or you can refresh now. But if you for a specific equipment type, look at Mississippi, look how dark that one is, Mexico. If you want to see those loads, you just click the link of that particular one. So for example, outbound loads, Alabama, 852. Well, let's click it. Boom. And then it should take us to those outbound loads, which are right here. You see, for a flatbed. So we just specifically said a flatbed, Alabama to anywhere, flatbed, right? And then you just get into your regular. I usually put the pay rate in order of highest and lowest that is posted. So I click that. So it's going through its spiel right now. So now it just refreshed. So now we got the pay rates just to kind of gauge what it is. And now you just see origin and destination.
That looks like a good one right there.
Which one?
The one with Beery Brokerage right there at the top.
Oh yeah, Berry Brokerage. So now it's going to Arizona. So now is it going into a market that's hot coming out? So
Right.
so you got to go back and check that hot market load for that. It's a good one. It's 40, it's max weight, close to max, 48 length trailer, 48-foot length trailer, but 46.
Oh, it's got 1,700 miles though. See,
Yeah,
this
yeah.
is the one. This is the one I'm playing with right now. The Decatur to Steelton. That's the one I'm playing with right now.
So for Pennsylvania, 39,000,
Yep.
it's 781 miles, so less than 800.
Yep. That's the one I'm
And
playing with right now.
so your estimated 479, your 28-day average is 247. That picks up on the 11th, which is tomorrow. The credit rating of the broker is 93. They are TIA, Transportation Intermediary Association. That's just a watch group for brokers. Um, and then the name of the brokerage is PLS.
Yep. And they're the same ones that match on the 1, 2, 3 load board as well.
Right. So brokers put their loads on multiple load boards. You know why? Because they want visibility as much as possible.
Mhm.
Right? They want that visibility. I mean, if I was a broker, would that not make sense? I'll have my loads on 1, 2, 3 load boards. I have them on DAT. I have them on truck stop. I have them on a load board called Post Everywhere. Post Everywhere is where you post it one time and it touches 36 load boards simultaneously. That load board, you don't believe me? Let's go to Post Everywhere.
I never even heard of that one.
Never even heard of it. See?
Hey, go back to that phone number again. I'm just curious what that phone number was.
Post everywhere at once. So I'll go back to it. I just want to
No
make sure
worries.
we have Post Everywhere right here. That's the Post Everywhere. I can get into there and it's a load. You can do a free trial. You post it once and it touches it all the time. Which one were you talking about? The phone number? Oh, right here.
Yeah, I'm just seeing if it matches the one on the 1, 2, 3 load board. That's all I was doing.
Oh, 31314-768. Call this company directly to book this load.
Yep, that's the one. Yeah, it matches. So we're good.
Yeah. Or it could be different agents assigned to that load. It could be the same load, but it could be a different agent assigned to the load that's on a different load board. You may have one agent assigned to the same load on direct freight, another agent assigned to it that's on posted on DAT, and another agent assigned to it posted on truck stop. That sounds weird, but that's not unusual, just so you guys know. Okay. So, yep. But post everywhere. You can post once and it touches about 36 load boards. Now, these are some of the lower end load boards, but they're still visible loads that truckers see. So some truckers don't use that or 1, 2, 3 or truck stop. They may use some of the cheaper load boards or some of the free load boards to post everywhere. North America's largest load board, post everywhere. So you can get in here and look at that stuff. So yeah. But yeah, where it's going is important. So Steelton, Pennsylvania, it's a flatbed. It's going to a flatbed region because you can get lumber out of there. You can get steel out. Steelton. Look at the name of the town. Steelton. Right? So you go back to the load map or the heat map of that, and let's see what Pennsylvania looks like for a flatbed. Loads map. And we'll select flatbed only, because we're only focusing on flatbeds, right? And then we'll see what the outbound, it's in alphabetical order. So Pennsylvania, right here, it's 150, it's 26%, not too much. That's outbound is right here, I think 424. I think that number, that column is outbound. Outbound loads is the first one. Okay, so we'll go back down there. It was 150. So if you send them over there at 3741 or whatever you may negotiate up to 4,000. You send them over there, you want to get them something coming out of there, right? So now you just go to the next. So this is something you have to do too. This is a route planning process. Wherever you send them to, you want to make sure that you have something coming out. Do we need to create a login to access this? No. This is one of the load boards that's in the back office, Shiante. Direct freight services right here in module 2. Trucking Planet, truck stop, not truck stop, trucker path or truckloads, next load, and then direct freight services. That one right there. That's the one that we're looking at currently And the logins are right here on this PDF. I'm not going to open it up because we're on a recording, but that's where the logins are. So you'll be able to access that. So now it's just strategizing now. It's like a jigsaw puzzle. You're putting the pieces together to create that masterpiece, right? So now you got coming out of Pennsylvania, where do you want to send them? What regions? I would send them. Look, here's an easy way to figure it out. I would send them, if you look at the heat map, I would send them into and out of areas that have a high volume of, I always say this, a high volume of inbound and outbound freight. I give you guys hints and clues all the time, right? Inbound and outbound freight, running into and out of there. And if it meets your requirements as the dispatcher and you want to keep them running, then keep them running. Just out of curiosity, let's look at I wasn't say box trucks, cargo vans, but let's look at a standardized equipment, dry vans. Let's look at the heat map for a dry van and see what we get. Okay. Not much difference, but a difference nonetheless. So, and then let's look at, since we're on this thing, we looked at the flatbed, we looked at the dry van. Stands to reason we should look at the reefer. So let's look at the reefer. You may get a reefer carrier. Now it looks different on a reefer. Got the green over here in Mexico, but you got some 50/50s, which is these right here. And then let's go to our trusty dusty box trucks. Let's see what they got going on. Okay, so, just the tools are back here. You just got to understand how to use them, right? The tools are here. Look at all these green areas for box trucks. Man, okay. North Carolina, Nebraska. Yeah, Minnesota, 100% Minnesota. Wow. So, all right, guys. As always, I'm not going to hold you too long, but any questions? Questions. And there is a subscription promotion still. I think someone asked a question. I think one of the Stacy's asked that question as far as subscription. There is a subscription for the 123 load board. Right here. You can, using our promo code 48,000 and using the 30-day affiliate link, if you click that, it'll take you to this page right here. I'm gonna copy the URL at the top and paste it in the chat. You can sign up for 30 days for free. The standard is 10 days, but oh, did I copy it wrong? Give me 1 second. Oh, I didn't. Okay. So the standard is 10 days, but since we are partnered with Lauren Metzen at 123 Load Board, the software owner, he gave us dispatchers 30 days for free to use it and then decide which subscription we want to purchase, the standard, premium, or premium plus. I think standard is 39, premium is 59, and premium plus is 79. I have the premium plus will buy what you see on the screen. And you can purchase it after you use your 30-day for free without being required to have an MC or DOT number because we're dispatch services. So we don't have MCs and DOTs. So isn't that convenient? Wouldn't it be convenient to get a load board without being required to have an MC to sign up for it? And you get to use it first for free 30 days to see if you like it or not. That's icing on the cake. Let me use it for free for 30 days and decide if I want to get the subscription. If I don't want to get it, I just don't get it. If I do, I can get it without being required to have an MC number. I can't see what better way to win in that situation. If you have your own subscription, yes, you can post your truck. If you're using my subscription to any of the load boards and I'm sharing my logins with you please do not post your trucks on that load board because I am the one that gets the alerts because the account is in my name. right? All you need to do for those load boards is use them to find loads and call the brokers for the loads that you found. Please do not post your truck until you get your own subscription to a load board. Then yes, you can manage that how you see fit. But while I'm letting you use those load boards, yes, please do not post the trucks. All right. A simple, and that's my only I guess pet peeve with the load board is not posting trucks because it's not the account is not in your name, it's in mine. And in the past, some dispatch students, I was getting calls left and right. Hey, you still want this load? This one, what load? What are you talking about? Then I would log in. I'm saying, oh my God. People are posting trucks. So I said, okay. So, but yeah. Can we get a subscription for the other load boards? Yes, you can, whatever their subscription requirements are. In the meantime, while you are a member of our training, I'm assuming you're a guest on this call today, but while you're a member of the training, if you're an ongoing 90-day member, you get to use these while you're in a 90-day program. You get to use them for free. I just share my logins with you with the caveat of still not posting your trucks on those load boards, right? So, but these four, Trucking Planet, Truckers Path, Nextload, and Direct Freight Services, you can use by accessing the PDF with the username and password, and it's numbered in the same numbering order as it is on the screen, and you just log in from there. All right. So yeah, I don't ask for much. I don't ask for much, right? So, um, you're welcome. You're welcome. And I'm assuming you are a guest, Stacy, newbie. Yes. Okay. Good. Good. Well, welcome. Hopefully, you are getting some questions answered about dispatching. Hopefully, Mr. Douglas's dispatching experience has shown you guys that this is possible. People can still get carriers, can still help those carriers with their bottom line and manage their companies and find loads for them, can get the carriers to actually listen to the dispatcher to make sure that they are doing, you know, what they're doing their due diligence and doing what they're supposed to do. So, any other questions? And look at this freight rate tool. So, freight rate tool, historical data. So let's find a load out of, let's say Norfolk, Virginia. And let's say it's going to Columbus, Ohio, right? And select the route, just keep that there. View today's rates. It's thinking. All right. So current average flat rate NA, current average reefer rate NA, current average van rate, $1,062, $1.87 a mile. It's 587, it's 568 miles total. Okay, you can view, and it gives you historical data too. So, all right. Profit calculator, calculate mileage. Partners, find drivers, quick pay, get authority. All right, fuel price data. That's a good one. Okay. So, everybody good? My wife wanted to make sure that some people, she gave me a list of names. I see Amy, she's in here. She said, make sure you see if Amy came in. There was a Stacy, I don't know if it was a Stacy Sanchez or a Stacy Newby. One of you just said you were a guest. And then who else was she looking for to come in? She's been emailing back and forth with people. And then she gets on me to make sure that they are. Okay, I erased the text message. So, But if you just signed up and you're here, welcome. Thank you. I'll let my wife know. So, and we're all good. I'm back in the good graces. Um, as always, thanks for your real life experience. That's aimed at Mr. Douglas. LaDonna said, thank you for your real life experiences with these carriers and what you're doing. Okay. Yes, sir.
Same team.
Yep. So you got something coming. Have you found a load coming out of whatever you need to come out for tomorrow?
Yeah, I got a few options, but before, another rule of thumb, never lock in a second load when you ain't got the first one locked in yet. That was one of the other issues he was having with the dispatcher that quit. They was locking in secondary loads when they were trying to plan the first load. And then when the first load wasn't fell through, they have to call back and let the broker know, hey, the rate confirmation you just did, you're gonna have to revoke that because now you can't get there to pick up the load. And then that just made the broker go nuts
Mm-hmm.
because it was a load for lumber where they needed a headache rack, and he had already coordinated a heavy equipment pickup
Right.
to pick that stuff up. So yeah, he went ballistic.
And as he should, and because the broker told their customer, "Hey, man, we've got a truck. It should be coming there whenever it was scheduled to come in there." And now he got to turn around and tell that customer, that truck has dropped off. Dropped off the map, if you will, and he's scrambling to find another truck, and the day is getting ahead of him. You know, so try not to,
Never do that.
don't put the cart before the horse. So some people ask me in time now. I used to do it in times past because it was possible, but nowadays I doubt it. You book one load and then you go to book that next load or that third load, and that middle load gets canceled. Now
Yeah.
you got that gap, that day and a half, 2 day gap, you know. So how many load boards are you using, Mr. Lashley? Are you using
Using the 123 load board and the truck stop load board from the actual carrier themselves. And then I've dabbled in direct freight, but now I'm gonna play with it even more because it seems like some information with 123 and direct freight line up, but there's also some things I see on direct freight that's not on 123 and some stuff on 123 that's not on direct freight. So yeah, but
okay?
yeah.
All righty. Anyone else? What what is direct freight mainly used for? Um, it has several purposes, but the main purpose of all of these, they're all load boards, right? So the main purpose is to source freight for your carrier, right? To get loads for your carrier. That's one of the main features. Now, it does have other bells and whistles where you can use some of the tools and features like rate mates and hot map, load maps, and things like that. But your main functionality that the load board is used for is to help you, the dispatcher, find loads for your carrier. And direct freight services is one of those load boards. All right, Amy?
And the key of it is the more access to information you have, the easier it is for you as a dispatcher to help the carrier make decisions. And so, whatever load board you're using, really dig into it to see all of the information that you can extract from it to help you make decisions on behalf and with that carrier. And then
Exactly.
that is where the logistic piece comes into play. Now you're just putting the pieces, you're putting the blocks together to carve them out of the route map to how you want them to move, because it might be phone call after phone call after phone call after phone call, because it's contingent upon the brokers who respond back to you, the rate, all that other stuff. So don't fall in love with your plan so much that when it don't work, you fall to pieces. Be able to have those variables in there to where, hey, if this don't work, here's what we're going to do here, because you have access to the information that the load board is giving you. And then you can just start, moving and shaking and making sure that the carrier keeps the truck running. So, yeah, that's the logistics piece of it.
Right. So I'm glad you mentioned that, because as dispatchers, you probably want to understand what is the difference between logistics and transportation, right? Logistics is it precedes transportation, and I'll explain why. Logistics precedes transportation, and I'm learning this. We're working with this major fertilizer shipper in Virginia Beach every week. Logistics precedes transportation because when a customer does a purchase order for a product, logistics kicks in because you have to have how much do they want? What's the pallet size? Do we have a truckload at this facility or that facility? Where are we going to get this truckload to make this purchase order complete? What's the rate of it? How are we going to invoice the customer? How are we going to PO the people who's going to design the fertilizer, things like that? That's a logistical process. Transportation doesn't come in until that full truckload is ready to be shipped to the customer. That's when transportation comes in at, but everything prior to that is a logistical process because you're putting everything together. You guys understand what I'm saying there? So logistics precedes transportation. Now, the two are important. They're not mutually exclusive of each other. They're important. One needs the other, right? They can't survive without each other, but logistics has to happen first before the need for transport or the need for transportation occurs. Does everybody understand that?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's coordinating it beforehand.
Correct. Before you get a truckload to move the freight, you got to make sure that the freight is available. Is it complete? Is it palletized? Is it staged? When the customer ordered the product, is the product done? What warehouse you getting it from? That's all logistics, right? Transportation is you just putting the shipment on the truck and getting a truck driver to haul it to the receiver, to the consignee. That's the transportation piece. But prior to that, and all of that, the logistics and transportation falls under the umbrella of what we call the supply chain. You've heard that term before too, right? The supply chain. And logistics and transportation is only one link in that chain. You see? So once you start understanding the macro part of this industry, you'll be able to get into the micro later on. What's the overall, right? Exactly. Logistics formula, requirements versus capabilities over time. That's a great definition. So yeah, look at it like that, guys. Logistics, then transportation. And it all relates to what the customer's needs. Of course, that's important because they're spending the money, right? They're spending the money. So you have to make sure everything is good from a logistical standpoint and then from a freight and transportation standpoint. Like next week, I got to do about 12 quotes. Well, no, I don't have to do them. I have to send out 12 quotes to about 7 3PLs to have them send us quotes so we can decide which one we're going to use to give us the cheapest quote. A 3PL is a broker. So I work with this fertilizer company. I think I've told you guys that we send out rate quotes. We send out an email to the 3PLs to give us a rate quote. I already know what the spot market says. I just want to see which 3PL is lying and who's going to be ridiculous with their numbers before we decide which 3PL we tender the freight to. So when you get on the broker side, that'll be explained to you a little bit more detailed. But in the meantime, just stay in your lane right now, right? Stay in the lane that you're in, the dispatching lane. It'll come, trust me. You're not far from brokering. All right. Okay, guys. We are at our almost at our point, but are there any more questions? Is there anything that needs to be clarified or re-explained? And then if you're in the process of getting use Douglas's methodology of getting the carriers. You know, the cold calling, what to say, how to say it, things like that. And I want to thank LaDonna. LaDonna gave a shout out to myself and Exodus when she went on her interview with some young ladies talking about transportation and logistics.
Plenty of food to eat for everybody.
It is. It is. LaDonna, you mind putting this on the screen?
I just subscribed to the channel too. I'm checking it out. The High Heels and Tea podcast. Yeah. I
Yeah,
just subscribed.
yeah. And I'll be on I'm supposed to be on e-carrier check. I think it's next week or the week after next.
Cool.
So one last question Shiante asked, what's going on with Freight Fest event? That's a great question. Are they not having it anymore? I need to call Ramel and see what's going on. Ramel has got so much other stuff going on. But let's look it up real quick because I thought they had a Freight Fest scheduled for 2025. That's Fright Fest. I said Freight Fest. It's Halloween, right? Spell freight, F-R-E-I-G-H-T. Freight Fest. It's not even in the Google search. So, Freight Waves, Freight Fest, future of Freight Fest will be held. Chatting. Okay, so yeah, it's something going on. I need to talk to him. They have dates, but you can't purchase tickets. Freight Fest 2025, September in Houston. I think that's the one. At the Semester. Yeah, this is it. So Trucking Hustle. Yeah, they always have it at the Royal Semester Hotel, Freight Fest for a Trucking Hustle for their event. Um, but yeah, right here, Trucking Hustle. So what I do is reach out to see what's going on with that because I know he got a lot going on as well. Okay, great reminder, Shante. Thank you. So I'll look into that, see what's going on.
Nice. Never been to one.
Yeah, it's pretty big. Different, particularly African American owned logistics people. You got brokers, you got dump
Nice.
truck people, you got everything logistics and the supply chain and transportation come together almost like a Black Wall Street kind of thing.
Nice.
But just because it's a lot of African American entrepreneurs doesn't mean that no one else can come in there. That's not what I'm implying. I'm just saying that it's highly concentrated with African American businesses. So,
Gotcha.
but yeah, but it's a pretty big event.
Okay, truck and hustle.
Truck and Hustle. Yeah, I was on. I don't know. I
Yeah,
was
you
on
was
that.
on the brother. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
he
I was on.
runs that thing. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Nice.
So
Nice.
yeah, so okay, guys. We will definitely look into that. I will call either Kwaku or Ramel to see what's happening with that, and then we'll go from there. Okay,
I'm doing some cold calling, so the link is in the chat. So I'll be doing some cold calling at 1. People want to, practice or whatever. I'll have e-carrier check up. They can use my e-carrier check and they can practice doing some cold calling and we can just play around for about an hour or so.
there you go, guys. The invitation has been extended.
That's what Chasa wanted us to do. That was our homework. So
All righty.
yeah.
All right, guys. I will have this recording in our channel later this afternoon. And then our next one will be Wednesday, the 13th at 6 p.m. for the dispatcher, and then Tuesday the 12th for the freight broker. So, all right. All right, guys. Happy birthday, Chiante, her birthday is Monday. Okay. Happy early birthday. We about 24, 25? uh,
Happy birthday.
uh,
Birthday.
all right, guys. 43, get out of here. Quit lying. You capping. What the kids say, you capping. All right.